So I talk about head count, but I can also talk about how many classes people are taking, the 3 credit hour class or 4 credit hour class or whatever. We have gone from being funded by the state $277 a credit hour to $140 a credit hour. I don't know who it was that brought up the consolidation of schools. I hate to talk about it, but since it came up, I want to talk about it. There are 23 educational institutions in the state, and I think of them as points of access. We as a state want more of our working age population to have post-secondary degrees, whether it's a certificate so that they can get take the PCA class, one class, get a national certificate and be qualified, or any of those certificate programs, the EMT program, our certificate programs. As a state, the goal that has been set is 66%. By the way, it came from Route 66, and people in Santa Fe thought it was clever. 66% by 2030. If we restrict points of access, if we close individual campuses, whether it's the one in our community or some other community, we're not going to be able to get those goals. And if we talk about diversifying the economy and having people that attract, Liddy left, but having businesses be attracted to this state, we need those degrees, and we need those points of access to have those degrees. Hadn't planned to it, but I think this group is a supportive group. I want you to see one more slide here. The senator at the Legislative Finance Committee meeting last week said communities are going to have to step up if they want education in their communities. Several of the presidents started saying, I think we're going to have another mill levy. I have one already on the calendar. Okay, it's in January. We are currently at 1 meal, which we started in 1980, which was kind of like the price of admission to becoming a community college. Gallup is at almost 5 mil. You can see where we are in terms of the community, the 2-year colleges in terms of community support. When you look at that chart, you understand why we need to ask the voters of this county to support us with an additional meal. Because we're having a shortage, and the perception at the state level is, why isn't Los Alamos supporting their local community college more? Kurt and I were at a meeting yesterday, and somebody talked about bonding capacity. It's important for the schools to be at full bonding capacity so that they can get more money from the states. When we are not fully supporting our local community college as a community, it's harder for me to get more money from the state. So much like Dr. Steinhouse suggested, we have signs, we have information, we have a website, but I want to answer a few questions if you have them. Kurt, you want to join us for questions? Nancy, do we have time?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, Killian.
Well, you're charging 100, the state is giving you 100, what was the slide before?
Okay, okay, I'm going to make a clarification, but I'll say it. That is my metric, that's not how they reward us. They reward us through a complicated state funding formula, but on average, if I just do the division, amount I get from the state, number of credit hours, it's about 100, I think it's 140. I can go back and make sure I have it right.
Well, from an uninformed standpoint, which no I'm not, but we're going to play, I'm good at it. How do you divide that out? If you're getting $140 a credit hour, it sure seems like you ought to run this institution just fine.
Well, I wish we could.
But I'm just saying, if you do the metrics, because there is an argument going on that really we should have plenty of money.
That we should have plenty of money?
Yes.
I wish that was the case. Let me tell you something else that's out there that people say that I'm humbled by. They say, well, you lost the election in 2013. Many of you know we went for a mill levy in 2013, lost by 246 votes. And you're doing fine, you're even growing. What they don't realize is that we lost, I will say it a different way, 10 people out of about 50 either had their FTE cut or they lost their position. We tightened our belts, if I use that phrase. We tightened our belts as much as we can. My dad worked in manufacturing, and at Christmas he would work about 80 hours a week, literally, because that's what they needed to do, up getting everything ready to make bicycles, by the way. And so they would work up close to Christmas and trying to get all those last needs. You cannot sustain that. And we are almost at that critical position now, Jillian, that we have people that are working 80 hours a week, getting paid for 40 hours a week. We have not had raises. I heard Representative Garcia talk about only a 3% raise. We haven't had raises. If you're interested in teaching for us, I'll be glad to quote you the rates that we pay people. And you will be humbled. And you'll say, why? Why does anybody teach for you? Because for the love of teaching.
Yeah.
That's why we do it.
But it's still a form of abuse to that professor. It is, it's a form of work
Okay.
abuse. I mean, but just so people kind of.
Yeah, we don't pay people a whole lot of money to work for us. So the perception that you have plenty of money is not there.
How do you carve up, I mean, that 140 per credit hour has to pay the teacher, the utilities. I mean, what is the list that has to be pulled from?
So happens that our finance person is in the audience. Lisa, do you want to take that one at all? What percentage is to our budget? For example, how much is salary?
Benefits.
Well, I think it's in the neighborhood of 60% of our expenditures, probably closer to 70%, have to do with paying the people who run this organization. So the operational costs beyond salaries are pretty mean and lean. You know, as far as utilities, we have this partnership with the public schools as far as the ground lease for this facility. The first two buildings that we have that were used to be part of the Mesa Complex, we have worked to sustain those over the years. Good stewards. We've built another 6 buildings along the way so that we're trying to provide the community the services. So if you just take a look at $144 or whatever times our enrollment, that's not going to even touch covering our salaries. And the salaries largely are in the classroom. So I agree with Dr. Rooney, we can't sustain ourselves where we're at.
Well, I'm just being the devil's advocate. I mean, I'm in there. It should have passed last time. It's not like that. There's just an argument going on that says why, and that it needs to be put to bed with a definitive statement of this is why. And it needs, because Los Alamos is such a lovely statistical town, even those who can't do math love those statistics, we need to have a nice little chart that says, okay, we get this, but 65% is salary, and the average salary is only, and you know, the utility bill, well, we like heat, and it is this much percentage-wise, just because there are people who do not get it.
We're trying to hire a part-time math professor that has at least, I won't say a master's in math, but has enough hours to have a master's in math, to teach courses. And for 0.5, half-time position, we're offering $24,000. Now think about the lab salaries and what we're competing with. Luckily, there's a lot of trailing spouses, and we've been able to fill those spaces. But we are not, we are incredibly tight with our money. And so I appreciate your suggestion that we share that. One of the comments that came from Senator John Arthur Smith, Stephanie alluded to it in talking about number of points of entry. Is the state going to cut so much that some of these campuses, some of these colleges just collapse? His analogy was a 3-legged stool. You know, we keep chopping off a leg and chopping off a leg, then eventually they fail. I don't think that the communities want that to happen. I strongly believe in education. One of the people that I talked to, and I appreciate your suggestion, but one of the people I talked to had a different approach. He says, challenge people to think about what education has done for them. Has education made a difference in your life? And do you want to do that for others? Senator John Glenn passed away, I guess it's last week now, and one of the things he commented on was, it's not the things that you do for yourself, it's the things you're able to do for society or others that matter the most. And he says it more eloquently than that. But when I read that, I'm thinking, that's what we believe in.